Hello again. So, video number 3 about releasing your attachment to the outcome of everything, specifically talking about relationships. So, my friend Susan brought up, asked the question, does this apply in relationships? And I would say absolutely yes, it does. And here's where I was talking a little bit in video number 2, where I was focusing mostly on business and work, talking about checking your motivations and expectations, right? So in relationships, and this can be obviously, it seems to me it's a lot easier when you're thinking about work. It's a lot easier to think about, okay, what are my motivations? Well, I'm motivated to have a roof over my head, have a job, and I'm motivated to help my clients, or so it's fairly easy to see like what your motivations are, and your expectation is that you'll be able to help, that you're hoping you'll be able to do something, but also understanding there's a point at which you have to let go because you don't have control over what people think, feel, or do in the end, right? That is still true in relationships too. You don't have control over what other people think, feel, or do, whether that's a partner, a child, a parent, a friend, an acquaintance, a stranger on the street, right? You don't have control over what other people think, feel, or do. So what happens in interactions? Well, let's go back to smiling at somebody. And it was suggested that when I brought up that example, that was, a fairly trivial example, let's say. And it is a fairly trivial example, but if you blow it up and apply it to other places, I think you'll see where I'm going with it, right? Which is, so why do you smile at somebody on the street? And I have known people, okay, who have smiled at people and then gotten upset because somebody didn't smile back at them. Right? So their motivation for smiling at someone was not just sending them a beautiful message or giving them a smile when maybe they're having a down day or just being joyful and smiling. They literally were looking at it as a transaction. They were looking at it as, I want something back from that person. I'm going to smile at that person. I want that person to smile back at me. And if they don't, I'm going to feel bad or hurt or resentful, right? Because they didn't. And then I want to take my smile back. Okay. What was your motivation in that? What is your motivation in any relationship? And I'm going to call myself out here, okay? And we can also get into trusting your process too. But when we have wounds, which we all do, right? We all have wounds. We often act out of those wounds. We act out of fear. Maybe we fear being abandoned, or we fear that we're not worthy of love, or whatever, right? So we do stuff in relationships to try to get that wound, what's the word I'm looking for? To get that wound softened, right? Or to fix it. Right? But the truth is, somebody else can't fix it. A relationship can't fix it. We have to recognize what it is. So let's say I have a fear of abandonment. And so my motivation in going into a partnership is that I want to make somebody stay with me, right? So maybe I do everything that I can for that person, right? Maybe I take over taking care of them, and I do everything that I can to try to make myself indispensable to them, so that hopefully they will think, oh my gosh, I can't live without her, and so I have to stay with her, right? I can't leave her. And if I'm feeling like I don't want to be abandoned, and that's my big wound, that's my motivation. I'm motivated by my fear of being abandoned. I am not being genuine in that situation. I am not doing things for that person that I purport to love because I want to, or because that's an expression of how I feel about them. Instead, it's an expression of my own wounding, and it's motivated by the fear that they're going to leave me if I don't make myself indispensable. right? So then if it looks like, or if it feels like they're not behaving in a way that I want them to, that they are, moving away from me, or they're not spending all the time with me that I would like them to, then I get anxious and upset, right? Because I'm looking for something to come back from them based on what I've been doing. But I wasn't doing it in a genuine way. Now, I may have been doing that subconsciously, but one way to check that, right? And that's work that I could do on myself, and hopefully I would, and I have, by the way. I have been working on that. But one way to sort of shortcut it, right, and check where you are, is to really look at your motivations. Am I acting in this relationship? Are the things that I'm doing in this relationship, are they coming out because I genuinely want, is there a genuine expression of how I feel, right? Or are they motivated by something else? What are my expectations in a relationship? What am I looking to get out of it? Am I looking for companionship? Am I looking for fun? Am I looking for what am I looking for? If it becomes transactional, right, where it becomes tit for tat, well, I did this for you, I need you to do this for me, then I would suggest that you need to look at your expectations, right? That you are attaching something to the outcome of what you're doing, that you're doing it and you're expecting that person to be grateful. You're expecting that other person to stay with you. You're expecting that other person to tell you that they love you. You're expecting that person to tell you they're never going to leave you. Whatever it is, you are having an expectation of what that person is going to do. It's not coming out of a genuine feeling. And if you are having bad interactions, I would look at what are my motivations here and what are my expectations. Why am I having trouble releasing my attachment to the outcome? It can be a way of shifting your perspective in that way, right? Like looking at it and saying, what is it? What's my motivation? What's my expectation? What's not adding up here? I hope that addresses the relationship question a little bit. And I will be contemplating more on this topic because I think it is a really interesting question, right? And it's something we all deal with. But in any relationship, what's your motivation? Even with kids, like a lot of people, feel like, oh, I've done all this for my kids and they owe me. Did you have kids so that they could owe you? Or did you have kids because you wanted to raise other beings and love them? Did you have a kid because you felt like you needed to be loved? I'm not saying these are easy questions, but motivation and expectation, that's what I would take a look at if you're having trouble releasing your attachment to the outcome of something. I'll leave you with that thought. Thanks again for watching and thinking.